Hi, this is Aoife Dean and this is the Happy Weight podcast. And today I want to run through some calories that we can cut that will make it easy to lighten up. So first of all, I want to set the scene, right? So say if we've been roughly the same weight for the last 2 or 3 years, right? Give or take 5 pounds up or down or whatever, but in the general region of the same weight. Well then, you know, I think it's very good to get out of the emotions and just get very, maths and science about it all. And so that means that our average weight over the last 2 years was sustained by our average intake of foods. So what's really important to remember is that good or bad, right or wrong doesn't come into it. You're not a bad person. Like, no one's a bad person. If we have put on weight, like, we have to be pretty clear that weight does not deserve weight stigma. I'm not less of a person if I'm heavier today than another episode of the podcast or whatever. So it's not about morally right or wrong. Yet again, this is just down to maths and science, and our average intake equals our average weight. I think another thing that really helps make things clear is that you really can kind of, I think, learn and change, and you go further faster once you realize it's not about what you eat, it's about why you eat it. So, you know, I remember there would have been times that I would have been quite upset about my weight, and I would have been like, this isn't fair. I know so many people who have a worse diet than me. I know so many people who do less exercise than me. And, you know, I was just really sucked into the diet mentality. And the diet mentality is about right and wrong and do's and don'ts. And you are entirely disconnected from your body. And the fact of the matter is, I was 3 stone heavier. I was 4 sizes bigger. I've never had a bad diet. I've never really, I didn't grow up close to McDonald's or anything like that. I don't have a load of soda drinks. I don't have any of the stereotypical things. That didn't stop me from being 4 sizes bigger. So someone could never ever eat chocolate or chips and be overweight. And someone could eat chocolate and chips every day or every week and be the weight they want to be. So we have to scrap good foods and bad foods if we want to move forward with our body. And we have to be more specific about it's why you eat foods. So if I was to really reduce it all to the most basic thing, someone without a weight problem, and a lot of my clients are married to a guy who does not have a weight problem, and they see it in the flesh all the time. But basically, people without weight problems will be eating to feel well. So they will be eating something because they feel happier after eating it. They will be eating something because they feel physically better after that food. And when we lose our way with food, and when we go into fear and we let other people take control of our diet and we listen to shoulds and shouldn'ts, what we start doing is we start eating to feel unwell. So we eat and then we start blaming ourselves, shaming ourselves, feeling guilt, regret, distrusting the food, imagining the food is going to make us very fat, maybe very unwell. So we have eaten in order to feel mentally and emotionally bad. And then we might eat very often to feel physically not as well as we could either. We might be sustaining a feeling of fullness, just never being hungry, never having very sharp taste buds and pleasure and enjoyment from food because we're always a little bit overfed. We might feel bloated. There might be times that we're sitting down to dinner and we're not remotely hungry. We might be going to bed feeling full. We might be waking up feeling full. We might be finishing bags of stuff and being kind of like, God, why did I even eat that? Why did I finish that? We might be eating stuff and not enjoying it as we're eating it. We might be kind of like, I don't even know why I'm eating this. So there again, we're using food to not feel physically well. So it can be a real North Star and a real thing to just remember that if we want to morph immediately into someone without a weight problem, we would be using foods to feel well. So when you're using foods to feel well as well, right, there's no coming or going. There's no like, will I, won't I, should I, shouldn't I? As you're driving past a filling station or whatever, or you're walking past a hot food counter, it's actually pretty clear whether your belly will feel well or not well after, I don't know, a jambon or a chicken roll or whatever. Like, you know when you will feel too full. You know when it will be a not necessary feeling of fullness just sitting in your belly. You know when you're being offered a food, you know the taste of it. You know what it's going to taste like. You know what you're going to feel afterwards. But like, if you know it's going to taste like, nothing to write home about, you have to remember you've tons of options. You've tons of options over the rest of the day. So we can change our intention now that it doesn't matter whether it's a kiwi or a Mars bar. I will be eating to feel well. If I'm eating something, by God, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to eat it and enjoy it, or I'm not going to eat it. What I'm not going to do is eat it and give out about it. What I'm not going to do is deteriorate my relationship with food by eating something and then finding all the negatives about that food and all the possible risks about that food. Like, there is no need to create that level of fear in your body, in your mind, and for your immune system. No need. So instead, like I said, it's like you will be eating it and you will be enjoying every mouthful of it. And you will be using it to get up until the point where your belly feels the way that you like your belly feeling. And then that's it. You don't have to bring any baggage with you. You don't have to ruminate for the rest of the day. Your body marches forward, and so do you now. You know, we want to help and heal our body. So it's all about the signals from our body. And there's so many times where our body feels absolutely grand, not over full, just grand. It's not saying anything high up or low down. And we're giving out to ourselves for what we ate last week or what we ate yesterday. And we have to see now that that is crazy. That is us opting to bring a weight problem into today. And we don't need to bring a weight problem into today. We can have today as someone who does not have a weight problem. And with that, it's that we study our physical reaction to the food. And then we power on from there. You know, let's see when we get hungry again. You know, no point overthinking it too much now. In 3 hours' time, who knows what will taste good and feel good? Who knows how much food we'll need to make our belly feel full? Who knows what we'll need at all? So we don't really need to ever do too much thinking about, or any thinking really, about the past or the future when it comes to food. So another analogy, right, that I'm going to go with here is that, say you're size 16 and you'd like to be size 14. And like I said, maybe over the course of the last 2 years, or your size 20 or your size, whatever size you are, maybe you want to be one size lower. Maybe you want to be 2 sizes lower. So the average calorie intake, like I was saying, is what equals that average weight that you've been. So now, in a way, it is kind of like we're decluttering and downsizing our home. So if we stick to that analogy, right, if you were downsizing your home, I bet the pieces that you'd want to take with you, the pieces of furniture and belongings that you'd want to take with you, are maybe the things that are nostalgic to you, that are sentimental to you, that they bring you joy when you look at them. They serve a function. When you use them, they're brilliant. You'd never like to part with it. You love it and you're proud of it. So then if we think of that with food as well, right? So say, and I know we don't have a memory to think exactly the foods we've eaten over the average, you know, over the last 2 years or whatever. We couldn't remember exactly. However, I bet there are some standout times that you do remember, either things really being nice or memorable or pointless or a waste of time or needless or unnecessary, or you didn't like them at all. And we kind of basically want to sieve through now those foods for you, because you're an individual. You're not going to read about this in a book. There is nobody who's got the exact same taste buds, metabolism, hormones, sleep cycle, cholesterol, whatever it might be. All the things that make you are so unique, and therefore how food tastes to you and feels to you is unique. So we want to keep in our diet, what's definitely staying are the foods in your diet that are nostalgic, they're sentimental to you, they bring you joy, they really serve a function. Like as in, you might have eggs for breakfast and it's not as if like they're the tastiest thing in the world, but my God, they work. You know, you feel full, you feel strong, you feel well able, ready to go after them. When you use it, it is brilliant. So maybe it's a food that you don't have that often, but when you have it, by God, you feel lovely after it, or it is a nice memory. So that can stay. You downright love it. Or I don't know, does this work with food, but, you're proud of it. Maybe along the road when our relationship gets more fun with food, I think we can be proud of our love for weird and wonderful foods. So then if we kind of think about downsizing our house, the furniture we'd probably want to get rid of is stuff that someone else bought for us and said it was good. Or like stuff in the house that like we just felt we should buy it. Like we never really liked it. We never really used it. It never really benefited us. Maybe it's something that we look at and we think, ugh, I should use it. But we don't actually love it. It doesn't actually bring us joy. So it's the exact same thing in your diet. What foods are sitting in your diet, are sitting in your days and your weeks, and they don't belong there. And like, this is the whole thing. Like I said, our weight is not down to what we eat, it's why we eat. And if there's a ton of redundant diet or foods in our diet, our body is storing that. Like if it's not the foods that give us pleasure and happiness, so we're like, that was so delightful and tasty. Yay, I got the reward I wanted. And if it wasn't filling and sustaining, you know, like foods that are like, yeah, that was good grub. I feel full after my dinner. I don't need anything else. Well, then there could just be a load of things sitting in our diet that if we were to dream or design our ideal diet, there's not a hope they'd be sitting in there. And now we want to be a bit cutthroat, right? Because if you're sick of being this weight, something has to go. And I suppose usually people go around it the wrong way. They remove the best things. They're like, right, I'll have to cut out chocolate now for a month, or I'll have to cut out pasta now for a month. And it's like, that's like removing your favourite armchair. Like, why would you remove your favourite armchair when there's a whole back house full of stuff that you haven't used since the 80s, do you know, or something like that. So now it's like cutthroat in terms of like, do I love it? Do I use it? Does it kind of, does it represent me? You know, is it a food that brings me joy? We really want to cut them out, right? Because all calories are calories. So we need to make the cut from anywhere now to downsize our house, which is downsizing our body, but without causing harm. And certainly without having less enjoyment in our diet. What you'll find is once you remove the rubbish, I don't mean processed foods, I mean anything that's sitting in there that you don't like. Once you remove the clutter from your diet, you will enjoy your food more. Just like if you remove the clutter from your house, you'd remove the furnishings that you have more. So let's start with the first one. So the first one is polite calories. Like this is like a little bit too much of going with the flow. So you're just kind of asleep at the wheel. You go to someone's house, they offer you something, you eat it. You're out in a drive with people want to stop at the shop, people want to get something in the shop, you get something at the shop. Someone says, oh, it's a Friday night, we get takeaway, you get takeaway. You know, so it's all external cues. You're just going along with what everyone else says to do at the times they say it to do it. And there's not much of you in the decision. There's not any really consciousness of, wait a second, how am I feeling? How does this taste? Is this food important to me? Is it worth it? Do I like it? Is there anything that I'd rather eat later? Like, depending on how much you care now about your body and how much you care about not carrying extra weight, you want to really care about housing stuff that's not your thing. So by housing, I mean making your body process and store a food that like you're not getting any signals from your taste buds that this is crazy delightful, and you're not getting any feedback from your stomach during or after that this is making you feel better. So those kind of things have to go. So when we're not expressing our individual needs, and I just did a little bit of maths here, right? So say if there's someone we pick up or drop off every 2 weeks from someone's house, and at that house we have a thing. We they put out something in front of us. It's never really our thing. Maybe it's a collation, maybe it's a small dinner, maybe it's a snack, maybe it's a slice of fruitcake, whatever it might be. And we just go with the flow and we have it. Just because we've never probably practiced or put ourselves out there enough to say, oh, do you know what? I'm fine. I've just eaten. Or do you know what? After this, I'm heading home and having something nice. So we've just never tried to change the habit, basically. And so something like that, right? If it was every 2 weeks, at the end of the year, we're 4 pounds higher because of that one decision every 2 weeks. And so I kind of think, like for me anyway, it started becoming very clear, like I am carrying weight from things that are not that important to me. Like as in, fair game if I was, eating the most delectable foods all the time and having a wondrous adventure with food, and I wasn't my ideal weight. But that's actually never the case with people. When people, anyone I've worked with anyway, whenever they're a weight that they don't want to be, there's a lot of careless kind of, I'll eat it kind of decisions in their diet. And it's like, is that really worth it? Like, if it's some fruitcake or something and you could buy 5 better brands than it yourself. Like, are you sure? Like, are you sure you want to be 4 pounds heavier from these kind of decisions in the year? So I think it really, really adds up. And especially when we're moving out of the black and white mindset. So the black and white mindset is that you're either on a wagon or you're off the wagon. You're either eating all good foods or you're eating all bad foods. And now we want something more permanent and sustainable. So you have to play ball with all foods. You can't just do a blanket no to certain foods. Like, that's ridiculous. That doesn't even make sense. That's definitely an eating disorder. So now we want to kind of figure out as we go what's nice for me and what isn't nice for me. Do you know? So then after polite calories, the next one is, and it's kind of similar. I know it's a little bit similar, but you never even liked it that much. So the first one was kind of just going with the flow a little bit too much and being asleep at the wheel and just letting whatever come into your body. The next one is stuff that it was put in there as a should. Like, you never even liked it that much. So this is really how there can be clutter in our diet. So say if we've been on and off diets for 20 years, we might have picked up, foods or snacks from keto, from Slimming World, from Weight Watchers, from low carb, from vegetarianism, from Ann Collins' diet, from the Zone diet, you name it. We could have like picked up little tidbits and snacks and foods and whatever from all the different diets, and all of them got into our diet because someone said, you should eat this. This will help you. And now it's kind of like we want to second guess everything. So say if you're eating curly whirlies or something, right? So curly whirlies or anything that comes in a packet, it'd be really important to realize you're not eating curly whirlies for health, okay? You're eating, curly whirlies are processed foods. So we eat processed foods for our emotional health or social health. They taste really good. They don't necessarily feel very good if you eat a lot of them or in a large amount, or if they elbow out fresh, nourishing, life-giving foods in your diet, you're not going to feel well from that. But so therefore our social and emotional health. So anything in a wrapper is not a health food, end of. Unless it's a live food that is an ingredient, it doesn't contain ingredients, it's not a health food. A health food is something that grows in the ground, walks in the land, swims in the sea. So if you're eating a taste food, if you're eating a curly whirly or something, it's like, oh, right, so are curly whirlies your favourite chocolate? Are they your favourite chocolate? Do they like define you as a chocolate lover? Because I've worked with a lot of people that curly whirlies were on some diet. So over the last 365 days or 2 years, they've had a truckload of curly whirlies or Jaffa cakes. And is it their favourite chocolate? Not at all. There's maybe 20 other chocolates or biscuits that would come before it. So it's like, why is that sitting in your diet? Like, say, for me, another one was protein bars. You know, if I was to look back on when I was figuring all of this out, if I was to look back on the last 365 days, how many protein bars I had eaten, it was a disgusting amount. So therefore, it was a disgusting amount of calories. So there we have it. That's 2 major contributors to our diet and our calories. I hope that gives you something to reflect on. In the next episode, I'm going to be hitting the next top 3 calories, and I've kind of left the best to last in terms of I kind of think these ones in the next episode are an even bigger calorie contribution than the ones we discussed today. And I suppose the point of this episode is maybe for you to reflect back on your diet, even over the last day, the last week, because something that really changes once we're keen on properly solving, healing, curing this is that we're not anxious, we're not panicked, we're not doing these like severe short-term cuts in calories that will cause a binge afterwards. We're playing the long game. It's funny because I was just listening to this entrepreneur video there, and they were saying successful entrepreneurs think in terms of 10 years time. And like I was just like, oh my God, that's just like with food, because when I started actually curing and healing my weight problem, it was because I was looking at the long game. So it wasn't just like, oh, this curly whirly is 100 calories or 200 calories. It's the fact that 200 calories extra every day for a year is 21 pounds of extra weight. Or what does 200 calories extra of a pointless food we don't really like mean over the course of 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? So I hope this episode has given you some inspiration to kind of really prioritize and be discerning about the foods that you love and have zero time for the ones that you don't. So yes, if you're a former client, make sure to book in for a follow-up appointment if you ever need it. If you haven't worked with me before, I have a Happy Weight program. It's 12 weeks. You'll find out all about it at happyweight.ie, and join me on Instagram, Facebook and TikTok at happyweightaoife. I have a great hypnotherapy course as well if you want to do this work by yourself in your own time. That's the Happy Hypno Weight program, and you can find that on happyweight.ie as well. Okay, thank you so much for listening, and catch you next time.